All right, instruction pamphlet number 74, June 1964, 26L, brake equipment with 26C brake valve, 26F control valve, arranged for safety control, overspeed control, dynamic interlocking, and multiple unit control for locomotives. New York Air Brake Corporation, 748 Starbuck Avenue, Watertown, New York, 13604. The 26L brake equipment with the 26C brake valve, 26F control valve, arranged from safety control, overspeed, dynamic interlocking, multiple unit control, locomotives instruction pamphlet number 74, June 1964. Supersedes issue of September 1960. Okay, the equipment 26C brake valve, automatic brake operations, independent brake operation, 26F valve, F control valve, the J1 relay valve, the MU multiple unit 2A valve, the F1 selector valve, overspeed control and safety control functions with the P2 brake application valve, overspeed control, safety control functions with the P2A valve, A brake application valve, braking and two protection features with an A1 charging and cutoff pilot valve with two B underscore dash B dash 5 relay air valves. Dynamic braking interlocking feature, automatic split reductions during penalty brake application with the A1 reduction selector valve, automatic split reductions during the penalty brake application, and temporary suppression of the overspeed control applications with the A2 reduction selector valve, automatic split reductions during the penalty brake application, temporary permanent suppression of the train control brake application with the C1 suppression valve, operating instructions. Alright, the equipment. The 26L brake equipment is a combination of automatic independent locomotive brake and modern design that incorporates all the operating features necessary for the control of freight passenger train braking systems. The equipment employs the major components as 26C brake valve and the 26F control valve and a higher capacity J-type relay valve. The brake valve is devised by the engine man can initiate with the brake applications released on both the locomotive and its train. The locomotive independent of the train, the 26F control valve automatically responds to the operating brake valve to develop the release air pressure for the piloting of the J relay valve to apply and release locomotive brakes. The important features of this equipment are 1. The prompt flexibility brake application releases for smooth operation. 2. The multiple operation previous types of locomotive brake equipment. 3. The pressure maintaining the brake pipe and the brake cylinder pressure. 4. The safety control valve. 5. The overspeed control. 6. The training control with temporary permanent suppression. 7. Split reduction penalty brake application. 8. Power dynamic brake cutoff during penalty brake applications. 9. Brake into protections. The data contained in this pamphlet is combined with the description of the application of the functions only for the devices unique to the 26L brake equipment. Here shows a 26 figure of a. This is the figure 1 of the 26C brake valve. You can see the pilot controls and in the wiring. The 26 brake valve figure 1 is 26C brake valve. 26C brake valve figure 1 is a self-lapping type which has been incorporated with modern design improvements that include the replacement of the rotary valve that can be operated with an O-ring packed spool valves, cam-operated poppet type valves to provide a control over the locomotive and the train brakes. Also incorporated with the valve design is a cam-operated self-lapping regulation valve portion, which functions to develop the dissipating of equalizing reservoir pressure in proportion with the degree of brake valve handle movement in the handling quadrant. In turn, the brake pipe pressure is developed and exhausted by the self-lapping of the relay valve that piloted the equalizing reservoir pressure to maintain the brake pipe the same pressure condition that exists in the equalizer reservoir. The 26C brake valve mounts on the pipe bracket to which all the pipe connections are made. The pipe connections are identified numerically as follows. 1. The brake pipe. 3. The switch pipe. 5. The equalizing reserve control pipe. 8. The lockover pipe. And 12. The emergency switch pipe. 13. The actuating pipe. 15. The actuating reservoir charging pipe. 20. The independent application release pipe. 21. The safety control pipe. 26. The suppression pipe. 30, the main reserve pipe, and 53, the brake pipe cutoff pipe. The brake valve consists of two main portions: the automatic portion of the regulating brake pipe pressure, controlling the locomotive and the train brakes, and the independent portion. The latter is self-lapping independent brake valve for the applying of the releasing of the locomotive independently of the train brakes for the releasing of automatic brake application on the locomotive independently on the train of brakes. The automatic brake valve portion is mounted on the top of the pipe bracket, secured with 4 studs. The independent portion is attached with the front of the pipe bracket and is secured with 3 cap screws. The 26C brake valve is arranged with the panel mounting of the entire valve section is mounted behind the panel, resulting on only the handle operating portion of the cutoff pipe valve section appearing on the front face of the panel. The automatic brake valve has 6 handle positions arranged from the left to the right as follows. The release running position. The position is for charging the equipment releasing the locomotive in the train brakes. Is located with the brake valve handle in the extreme left of the quadrant. Minimum reduction position. The position is located with the brake valve handling against the first raised portion of the quadrant to the right of the release position. With the brake valve handle moved to the position, a brake pipe reduction is obtained. Service position. The position consists of the sector of brake valve handle movement to the right of the release position. The moving of the brake valve handle to the left to the right through the sector of the degree of the brake application is increased until with the handle heads extremely right to the sector and the handle is obtained in full service position. The full service brake application is obtained. The suppression position. The position is located with the handle against the second raised portion of the quadrant to release the release position. It is in handling providing full service brake application with the brake valve handle and service portion. The suppression of the overspeed control safety control application is obtained. The handle off position. The position is located with the first quadrant not to the right of the suppression position. The handle is removed from in the position in which the handle should be placed in the trailing units of the multiple unit locomotive. The locomotives are being towed are in the dead as in a train, are towed dead in a train. The emergency position is located with the extreme right of the brake valve quadrant. If the position must be making the brake valve emergencies, the brake application for resetting for an emergency application if the brake into feature is available. All right, the cutoff pilot valve portion, which provides the functions familiar with the dead heading cock, is the cutting and the cutting out of the brake where the desired. Two position cutout pilot valves will be found in service. 3 position types are used in the locomotive with both passenger and freight service. The 3 positions are passenger, freight, and out. The 2 positions being employed on the locomotive intended for the freight service only and in position in and out. The cutout pilot valve is positively held in each of the handle positions, spring loading necessary for the first to press the handle before it can be moved on one position or the other to another. The brake valve cut out by the cutoff pilot valve, which maintaining the cutoff. This is possible to brake pipe the leakage test, which we'll cover later in the pamphlet under operating instructions. For the normal operation of the locomotive is controlling unit, the cutoff pilot valve handle must be placed in freight or the passenger position. For the 3-type position type and in position for the 2-position pipe type. Depending upon the intended services of the locomotive, the out position is used the hauling locomotive in dead or trailing unit multiple unit locomotive. The portion in the cutoff valve portion is also incorporates 2 check valves which provide either brake pipe pressure or main reserve pressure to the brake pipe cutoff valve depending upon the existing high pressure. 26C automatic brake valve portion includes the following details. A self-lapping type of the regulating valve, which operated with a service cam fastened to and rotated with a handled shaft that's regulated development to the pressure of the equalizing reservoir charging pipe number 15. The pressure is either piped through number P2 or P2A brake valve, and if one employed, or directly to the number 5 pipe beneath the brake valve, whence conveyed through the passage of 5 the brake valve to the other face of the diagram. In the relay valve portion, the movement of the brake valve handle with the release position into the service sector causes the regulating portion to reduce equalizing reserve pressure in proportion to the amount of the handle of movement, until the full service position of the equalizing reservoir is reduced sufficiently to produce the full service brake application, adjusting the equalizing reservoir pressure, releasing the position can be made in turning adjusting screw A at the end of the regulating valve portion. The self-lapping feature of the regulating portion automatically maintains equal reservoir pressure against overcharges and against leaks. 2. The relay valve portion consists of a diaphragm-operated relay valve and establishes the pressure of brake pipe equal to the equalizing reservoir at the time. It's capable of either supplying vented brake pipe pressure, acts as the supply valve, charging with the brake pipe pressure on the locomotive train with the brake valve handle in the release position during the automatic brake valve during the automatic brake application. Reduction of the equalizing reserve pressure in the regulating valve causes the relay portion to correspondingly to reduce the brake pipe pressure. The relay valve portion will maintain the brake pipe pressure against brake pipe leakage. 3. The brake pipe cutoff valve interrupts the flow of the air from the relay valve to the supply valve to the brake pipe in the event of A. An emergency brake application, B. The position of a cutoff pilot valve into the out position, and C. Operation auxiliary connected to the brake valve, which requires interruption of the flow air to the brake the pipe for pressure of braking into protection. 4. The vent valve, which is the cam operated with the brake valve hand shaft in the emergency position, produces the rapid drop of the brake pipe pressure. The brake valve portion body is ported so that the substitution of the emergency brake application portion from the vent valve covers the vent valve and can be actuated pneumatically from the venting of number 21 passage. 5. The emergency valve, which is cam operated with the brake valve handle shaft, the emergency position, which has two functions that provide with the flow of the main reserve air pressure to the number 12 pipe for the operation of power knockdown switches, other auxiliary functions which may be required to be operated with the emergency position of the brake valve handle. The emergency valve is also operated with the quickly ventilating equalizing reserve pressure at the brake valve in the emergency position to ensure rapid and prompt venting of the brake pipe. 6. The suppression valve, which is cam operated with the brake valve hand shaft, is provided with the main reserve of the air supply to the port number 26 of the suppression handle off the emergency position of the brake valve to suppress overheated control and safety control brake applications. The valve also functions in these handles position to close the number 8 pipe for resetting the brake application valve prior to the releasing of auxiliary brake applications. The suppression valve also functions to supply the main reserve air to the port number 3 with the brake valve handle in the release position to keep open the equalizing reservoir cutoff valve via the port 7, the spool valve with the cutoff pilot valve. 7. The equalizing reserve cutoff valve, which is arranged in permanent operation trans and employing the graduated with direct release for the car and the freight service with a cutoff pilot valve handled in the freight or in the in position. The equalizer reserve cutoff valve is held only in the release position. Only in the position can be brake release and be made. Passenger service in the cutoff pilot valve handled in the passenger position. The equalizing reservoir cutoff valve is held open all brake valve handle positions. The brake valve can be released completely and the release position can be graduated off in steps of the brake valve handle. Automatic brake operation.